Today is November 18th. It is 9 o'clock. The Morrison County Board of Commissioners meeting comes to order. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everybody. Morning. Citizens or deletions?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair.
Hearing none.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented to us.
Motion made by Commissioner Blaine, second by Commissioner Casper. Discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Employee recognition, Administrator LeBlanc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right, good morning. Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to recognize some of the members of our workforce. This morning, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take just a few minutes to recognize 10 employees with a combined service of over 160 years from Morrison County, which is amazing. First off, thank you all for being here. I know we have some presenters in the audience, so I know you're here for that reason, but everybody else that's not on this list is here to support their coworkers. And that means a lot. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here today for this event. So our employees, Mr. Chair, you know, and we all know they're the soul of the organization. They are what makes a difference. They are the ones who continue to provide professional services for our community. Our staff has an average of about 10 years of service with Morrison County, which I'm super proud of. That's not common across the state to have folks stick around an organization that long. And today we are going to take a moment to recognize these 10. So for those being recognized today, I'm going to call you up based on your years of service. So for the first one, it'll be Casey and Derek, present you with a certificate, and then have you go up with the board for photos. Please stick around when we finish the entire list. We'll have everybody who was recognized today go up and get a group photo with the board of commissioners. In addition to the recognition and the certificate signed by the chair, recipients were also eligible for a piece of Morrison County apparel or chamber bucks. So again, recipients, before you leave today, please stop by the table and grab the items selected to celebrate it today. Spoiler alert, our longest serving employee. Hope's name's twice. That would say John Erdrich if it was at 35 years, but Hope's got 65 years alone. But anyway, John's not here. He's out in the woods, facing down the deer. He'll be on the block today. So without further ado, Casey, can you come up, please? Congratulations. 5 years. Thank you very much. And Derek. Thanks, Derek. 5 years. Please give a hand for a 5 year.
Thank you. Yes. 5 years already. Wow. That's
Hey.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're fine. You get great things better.
All right.
Yep. All right. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, one more hand for a 5 year recipient. Bookkeeper, so 10 years, Victoria. Thank you, Victoria, congratulations. Beth. Thank you for coming, Beth. Congratulations. And Melanie. Congratulations. Well, let's go around.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you for you do.
Thank you much, but. Oh, yeah. Everybody centered. I was playing. All right, applause, please. Thank you, ladies. 15-year recipient, Joe. Go ahead. Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Congratulations. You're all by yourself on this. Congratulations. Congratulations, Joe. He's like a 30-year veteran, that's knowledge. Yeah. Yeah. I figure I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna get on the desk. I can't believe you can't see. Okay, thanks, Joe. 20 years, Linda Strand. Yourself. Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Linda. Thanks, Linda. Twenty-five years, Julie. That's good. 25 quick ones. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right.
Thanks, Julie. Let's go, 30 years or more, 65 years. Yep, we get to go. Here's to another 30.
No.
We'll keep you up there, Hope. Let's just give a round of applause to John for keeping this place running. Right. All the recipients, come on up, please.
Are you interested? I'm very excited. Yeah, like one day. That's right. Hold on, I'll just stand by this one. I'll just stand by this. Yeah. Average.
You got one.
65 years, yeah.
That's standing, tie them up there.
Guys, squeeze all in, squeeze all in. Don't worry about us. We're not important. Come on, you can come back here too. Yep. How's that? Are we better? Need more?
Like, oh, there, I mean, things like that. I got it.
Let me drop this mic real quick. So.
Get up, the administrator get in here.
It's just a, there you go, perfect. Everybody smile, we'll see you until it was not that. Okay.
All right. Don't forget the gift. Thank you.
Sorry, it's my confidence.
Yep, thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just give it a minute to clear, no more.
Okay. Mr. Chair, that concludes employee recognition.
Good, thank you. Consent agenda, approval of consent agenda. Is there anything within the consent agenda that would like to remove for further discussions?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Blaine,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Moran, discussions? I just want to, make one comment that the elected officials, it's the same as last year, correct?
For the county commissioners,
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Chair, no change to the salary for county commissioners.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, this will be a roll call. Commissioner Blaine,
Aye.
Commissioner Casper,
Aye.
Commissioner Winter,
Aye.
Commissioner Moran,
Aye.
myself, Commissioner Mears, aye, motion carried. Next on the agenda, Egg Society. You could have a seat up here, state your name for the record.
Jeremy Hanfler, Egg Society President. Kenneth Feldbaum, Treasurer.
Just take Ken.
Kenny.
Morning.
Morning. Morning. So we're here again to do our annual report with you guys. Thank you for last year's funding, and we're here again to, I believe we submitted our request for funding for next year. And we brought with, our budget for last year, this year, balance sheet, and then also the improvements and what went on at the fair in the 2025 season. So, kind of quick going over the improvements. We added Wi-Fi to half of the fairgrounds this year. So the west half has got it. We're looking possibly next year to add the east end if funds allow for that. Purchased a new mower for grounds maintenance. The other one was a 2003, 2004, so it's seen its better years. So we actually just saved that and got a broom on it now for grooming our trails. So we did do the mower upgrade, security upgrades. We had some issues with vandalism, theft, breaking in, so we had all our buildings rekeyed, relocked, everything beefed up on all the doors. Cattle barn upgrades with some structural issues there, so we got that taken care of. And the grandstand parking lot, we hope for bids. They're still looking at possibly getting that done yet this fall to do some upgrades to that lot. So, and then the events are listed below. The motocross weekends, that's kind of a standard. We've been out there for 15 years or better now. So that's five weekends out of the year. That's a three-day event out there. Brings in 8 to 1,200 people each one of those weekends for that. The Friday nights is just a race practice. That's from the whole, basically the state of Minnesota, those guys are coming from. So that usually includes 400 to 500 people on those weekends. Greater Minnesota 2-cylinder weekend, that's the first weekend in May. Kind of an annual event for those guys out there. That's a 2-day event. I believe they're talking about going to a 3-day this year. The Prepper Convention was back last year. Then the county fair, we went from a 2-day or 3-day fair to a 4-day fair this last year, which helped us out a little bit, helped spread things out, give us a little more time to get things done and generate a little more revenue with us. So July we had Cattleman's tour. There was over 700 people there for the tour and the convention. They used that for both their meals. Freedom Fest, which I'm sure you guys all heard, moved from the Genoa area over to the fairgrounds last year to accommodate for safety. The Good Samaritan had their camp out and tours. They were here for a week. They did tours of Lindbergh. They took tours out at Camp Ripley. Then that consisted of about 40 campers, 125, 130 people out there for that week. It was a Tuesday through Saturday. They did that and took in a bunch of the events in the area. Heartland Truck Pullers had their annual truck pull in August. Lone Eagle Auto Club, that's Arts and Crafts Weekend. They had their big 50th annual show out there this year. And now Arts and Crafts generates parking out there for overflow parking from downtown. Man versus Beast Rodeo is back. Northeast Livestock Show, that was the end of September this year. That was up about 100 kids for that event. I know it's a meal night. They served a little over 700 people. And my guess is about 60 to 70% took into that. So my guess is there's well over 1,000 people at the fairgrounds for that 2-day show for those 4-H kids. And then our winter storage, we got 100+ units out there again this year that's in storage. So with that, anybody have any questions at all on the concerns?
Any questions on that? Commissioner Winter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, people bring this up here all the time about how early our fair is. So is it ever gonna be put off a little bit? Is it really affects 4-H because of the fact that people can't, or the kids can't get their crops, to show their flowers, just not good. Is that gonna be a goal, or is this gonna be?
It is not, it's not a goal in our future. We work with carnivals. There's 4 carnivals in the state of Minnesota that are licensed because of the regulations. And you work with the carnival. So once you get a carnival locked in, they'll come back. I'm sure you guys have heard in the past, the bouncy houses because the carnival backed out. And it's just, we've got a reputable carnival now with Gopher State out of St. Cloud. We've worked with them before. They thought they were going to move the fair, got a new one. And then you see what happened. They didn't show up. So, took their money and ran. So that's one of those things. So going forward, I foresee a June fair. Next 5 years anyhow, that's kind of what we've got an agreement with our carnival guy. And as far as 4-H, there was a larger number of participation this year than any other year. So our barns were full. We had to come up with additional pens and stuff for the animal side of it. Crops, they're last year's crops, they're not this year's crops. So the only thing that really gets affected is flowers and the gardening side of it, which, the ones that want to do it, they do have resources and capabilities. So yeah, it's one of those things that there's only so many weekends in the year. And, you guys know how many felonies there are, and everyone has one, some have 2 fairs. So there's only so much to go around for events.
Thanks for that information.
Yeah.
Any other questions? You continue.
Go ahead.
So on the next page, there are 24 actually, you can see where we were with our budget there. That's 2-sided. We got our income and then the expenses on there with our balances at the end. So it's 24. That was kind of a learning year for us. That's kind of when the new administration took over out there at the fairgrounds, with the majority of us. 25's budget, we came in with the budget and our actual income was up, as you guys can see, and that was kind of on purpose. We're trying to set some funds away for large improvements. I think we mentioned last year, it's almost $500,000 to redo the entrance into the fairgrounds to get that tar road redone. So we're trying to save there, and the other capital improvement, improvements were the Wi-Fi, because that's a big thing. So we started with that last year, and then just some of the large equipment, is, our skid loader needs to be replaced. So that's another one of those things we're kind of budgeting and planning for. We did buy the lawnmower last year. We're able to save some funds there. So we did get some switched over to some of the other stuff that did come in under our budget than what we were anticipating for a lawnmower. So, see our balance from last year was about 93,000. So with, this year's coming up, we're looking at doing the larger concert again with the hopes of making some revenue. Last year, we also did our own alcohol sales. So that generated almost 10 grand extra in revenue that we haven't seen from the year before. Would have been substantial if we would have been able to go on without a hitch, without the storm canceling our concert. So If that was anticipated 35 to 40,000, we could have potentially made just, with the sales, if that could have been, that event would have went through, so. If you guys have any questions on the budget? What you see there, or what you,
Questions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just that one on the other income that was in 1.5, but
Yep.
at 101.
that was our insurance premium for the insurance that we had on the concert. That's what the insurance company paid us for our cancellation insurance. So you can see where we would have been if we wouldn't have our insurance.
Yeah.
So
Good.
insurance premium was about $7,000, so it didn't
Yeah.
pay off, but that's where that other income was from. That was.
Any other questions on the budget?
Then we just got our balance sheet there on page 3, so. And then also I brought for you guys, IAFE did an impact on the fairs across the country broke up by regions and by fair sizes. So it's something you guys can take a look at when you got time, but we're classified under 25,000 and fewer. We anticipate between that 10 and 12,000 throughout the time at the fair. So the upper Midwest, they claim about $6.8 million in revenue is what is spent throughout the fair, putting the fair on. Income from other vendors, suppliers, carnivals, everything throughout the area. So you see some of the other areas across the country, but the upper Midwest is one of the bigger areas that has a larger attendance than a lot of them across the country. So we do have the opportunity to hire these guys to come in and do an impact study just strictly on our fair with all of our stuff to go, what goes on here in Morrison County. So, and this is everything that goes on out there throughout the year. It's not just the 4 days of the fair itself. It's all the other, income and stuff generated by all the events that go on out at the fair.
So Jeremy, the Pierce Fest,
Yep.
is that planned annually have it, whatever?
It is planned annually. So that did change a little bit. I'm part of the management finance group on that one now, part of the new ownership. So we've got a 1-year contract. We're looking at doing a 10-year to keep it there, just to do some permanent infrastructure to help improve the fairgrounds too. On that, if we can make that work and go forward, but there are one other investor besides me that are investing in that. Is our ultimate goal is to keep it out there in the community. So it was last year, there was about 4,700 people on Saturday and around 2,500 people on Friday night for the concert. Just
150 campers out there.
Yep, 154 campsites last year is what was out there. Just went on sale last week with our campsites. We got 148 campsites sold ready for next year. So within the first 3 days that it was opened up. So we expanded the campground. Hopefully have around 350, 360 campsites this year. So, and then with the lineup and we're hoping to expand that, brings pretty good chunk of people in town for that event. So
It's too bad to get rained out. You're part of the owner of Pierce Fest?
Freedom Fest. Yep, it's not Pierce Freedom Fest anymore. It's Freedom Fest Minnesota. So
Okay.
we did go about that. It's still going to benefit the Pierce Commercial Club. They're still going to get proceeds from the thing for at least the next 10 years going forward. So that's one of the agreements we made with them guys. So go back to that. And then it's also, we're going to be donating to military first responders, police, fire. That's our thing. So you guys can go on our websites here, our new mission statement and some new stuff. So it's moving forward, and my goal is to keep it here. So that's why I got into it. So it's not moving.
So I don't mean to sound like a micromanage.
Yep.
But I know, like, we have to sign conflict of interest statements when we do stuff here.
Mhm.
Is that something, do you have to abstain now when you vote?
I do abstain, yep, and then the vice president signs anything, any contracts that go along. So I don't do any signing or anything with that, so.
Ms. Casper?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jeremy, question to you. Do
Yep.
you have, and maybe I missed some, do you have numbers for the fair itself this year versus last year?
As far as attendance numbers,
Please.
no, we don't have attendance numbers. We kind of, because we don't count, it's a free fare. We just charge for parking. So you can kind of tell by our parking revenue that, what was that, 8,000?
So in 2024, parking revenue was 70, almost 7,800. This year, the actual parking revenue was $12,400.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. It seems to me that you guys have really put your act together and it's getting stronger all the time. That's kudos to you guys.
It's grown substantially, and that's the ultimate goal, is to keep it going. So
We would like to see that venue be the best one in the region for the fair.
That's great. Now, another question to you. Simple question. How long have you done storage out there?
personally, myself, I've done storage out there for 3 years. They used to have somebody else do it, but it's been out there for years, 20 years.
Okay, what a great thought to make use of those
So-
buildings and get some revenue.
Yep, which are, the storage basically covers our insurance premium for the year, so we try to offset those two, is what we try to do.
Very good. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, if
Mr. Blank?
I may, you'd mentioned that or both of you had mentioned that the desired success of Freedom Fest. And I see, so as I'm looking at revenue and that, so we've got revenue and expenses listed both for bands and side entertainment. So are we still going to do another concert?
We're going to repeat of the concert that we had last year that was canceled, so Hairball will be back during the fair this year on Friday night as well, yep.
Okay, so so when that takes place, that'll be as part of.
Columbia County Fair, correct, yep. And Freedom Fest is in July, the fair's in June. So we will have the concert in June during the fair, Friday night of the fair.
And so that concert, revenue from that concert will go into the Egg Society coffers.
Correct.
So,
Correct, and I would like to mention when it comes to the bigger bands that we get at the fair now, working directly with the stakeholder of Freedom Fest, Jeremy's counterpart, has connections to get larger name acts at a much greater, or a very significant discount than going through, traditional entertainment booking agents. I notice it's probably a 40% discount over regular booking agents.
and so then when the Freedom Fest event takes place at the fairgrounds, then the revenue from that event goes to Freedom Fest.
Correct, just like any other event, motocross, when they rent it, it's just, they rent the fairgrounds for the weekend and bring the people into the community, like Two-Cylinder Club, like the car show, like any other event, they rent the fairgrounds for the week.
And so the Freedom Fest, the rent for Freedom Fest is the same to use the fairgrounds as like some of the other events, the preppers or the Two-Cylinder Club or things like that. That's
Our rental schedule is in the field, and each one is kind of depending on the buildings they use, the grounds that they use, how much they use the restrooms, if they use the kitchens, depending on what they use is what they get charged for.
and so you said, that Freedom Fest then donates money to the veterans and the first responders and that. So is Freedom Fest a 501c3 nonprofit?
Freedom Fest is a for-profit organization, just like you would have your Wheat Fest, your Lakes Jam, any of your other events.
So you as an owner have the opportunity then to receive revenue from that.
Yep.
Okay. And so, and then when I look at this, Mr. Chair, so then, on the last page here, and I should say that the backside sheet there where we have total income for 2025 of 335,000. And your net income was just under 100,000, 93,000 and change. But our 2026 budget, you're looking at basically at a break even. You have a total net income of 0 on that. And so are the planned expenses, the planned expenses that will take place will negate any revenues?
So with that, Jeremy had mentioned that the entrance into the fair is every year it gets rougher and rougher. So the goal is that, like for instance, the ground and maintenance repair, that we don't need to spend that 50,000 directly on the buildings or other facilities out there. As we've been keeping up very well over the last couple of years, maintaining the structures and facilities out there that if we can come in again this year and have another 93,000, we're technically 2/5 of the way there to get a new road put in there. So like most budgets, you kind of go for a worst case scenario in a real life. What if, if snow load collapses the roof or something like that, maintenance and upkeep on that stuff, but the intention is not to use all of that money and then have it in the coffer for a major project in the future.
As you see our balance sheet, we're at 194, so your 50,000 that we got for grounds and maintenance, a majority of that's gonna get put away for that road improvement. So we budget that in there that it is gonna grow, because 194, as you can see what we need to operate on a year, we can't, use that down to 0, so that's gonna keep growing. So as you guys see that 194, we're gonna get our assets and liabilities, you're gonna have to get to 500,000 before we can, go out there, because we ain't gonna go and finance a road. We can't bond for the money and pay it back. So, as you guys see this 195, next year, we're hoping that's at 250. So, and that's gonna come out of there with your 50,000 in maintenance, your equipment purchases and stuff that's, I guess, I don't know if you want to see that on a sliding scale so much a year to get to the dollar amount, if that make more sense than this way. But, 50,000 on grounds and maintenance repairs, you can see last year we spent 22, and, so it's roughly 25 that's going to be the same again for next year, and then the other 25 go in there, and then, your equipment purchases and some of your other stuff is kind of the same way. So we try to get to a zero balance if we're not, and the balance is going to carry over.
Any other questions? No, I just.
Does it make sense to you, or it don't make sense to you?
No, I understand what you're doing. I mean, typically, you would show that as a net income, and then you would make that, you would make that transfer funds to your asset page. There, you're just doing it. You're doing it on the forefront before basically before that revenue is there. So, and that's fine. But I mean, as long as, as long as that's the desire, I certainly have no problem with that. And I think we understand that the concern with the entrance, in there. So, no, that's it. Winter?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The question I have, when we're talking about renting the fairgrounds on these events, is it based on, let's say, the Lone Eagle Auto Show? They, if they're there for 3 days, arts and crafts, parking, is it based on maintenance that could come about? So let's say that you have the Freedom Fest, but what's the motocross weekends? There's some more damage to the county grounds versus not, but they're charged the same, or if that's the case, how do you determine that? Or is it gonna be like, okay, the truck pull or whatever, it's probably gonna be more damage and it's gonna cost more to bring it back to where it was versus the auto. So.
Yeah, so you might be surprised on a lot of that. So like the Truck Pull Association, so they rent the grounds for the day. They bring the graders in, they get everything prepped. When they're done, they put everything back the way it is. They pump the tanks, the porta potties, they clean that stuff up and they're done and gone. They brought the clay in, they built the track, they spent 15,000-20,000 of their own all to clay in and build the track. So that's kind of one of those deals. And actually from the truck pull, we don't charge them anything because they maintain the track. And during the fair, when we have the truck pull, they run the whole thing for us. So we have, to rent the grandstand areas, I think it's $500 to rent that plus whatever, plus fees. So we're paying them to run the event for us during the fair. And then in return, they use the track for their 1-day event for their fundraiser.
So
at the end of the year.
all these events, whoever does the contract, let's go back to Freedom Fest, they pump all the sewage, that's all part of that contract. This is what you gotta do.
Correct. Actually, Freedom Fest don't use the restrooms at all. They use everything's porta potties, and then the electricity is taken into consideration too.
But they don't use the kitchen or any of that stuff.
No, because food's all catered. So
And
different.
so each one,
Each event is unique to its own, the car club, they use the whole carnival area for parking all their vehicles, but then they use the food building. They do their meals, they cook in their meals in there and they do their food
And you
fundraisers and the
base that
restrooms.
how much,
That's what we try to do, but the thing is the years past, they never were charged, sufficient for what they should. So each year we keep, because each event is unique to what they do and what they have and, how much revenue they can actually generate from having their thing out there. So some of it is a charity deal. Auto Club, we had them do all of our parking, set up our parking for our fair last year and reduced their rental rates. So they did work for us and offset. So we don't have to hire people and pay people out of the fair funds. We just exchange some of that and then try to generate enough cash on site to do the maintenance, to pump the tanks and pay for any cash out of pocket. And then
and that's.
the other revenue is,
By the Ag Society, they're the ones that make these determinations as far as what we're gonna charge. Do we gonna, do a contract with, the auto club, or what, we'll hire, well, you can volunteer, whatever, to park
Right.
for this event, if you can do that, that's how that works.
yep, that's all. Yep, determined through the Ag Society.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Blank.
going back to your financials here, and I just noticed this and I have to ask the question. So when we look at, under other income, and it says county income, second line down. And it shows in 2024, you have listed as county income at $16,735. And I thought last year when we discussed the budget for all of our nonprofits, and you guys were here, and you had, I thought you had stated that the amount had not changed in a number of years, and it was at like $28,000. So I'm trying to figure out where, so I'm trying to so
So it's
am I
for that-
wrong? Am I wrong, or is there discrepancy?
There's a discrepancy there. So that was in the transition from in leadership. So the actuals and the budget, what we took numbers from we view our annual report based off of when our annual meeting is, which is in November. So that the 2024 actual, there was some that was quantified before that November deadline. That,
I believe we get 3 payments from the county.
yeah,
In different parcel when it's split, so if we don't get it all at one time, it's either 2 or 3.
it's in 3 payments. It comes in roughly in the springtime, the fall time, and then there's a little one that comes through later on.
The balance at the end of the year. So my guess is this one does not have the spring payment because that would have been before our time doing the books.
Okay, but that, so that, at some point in time, that remaining revenue that brought it to whatever it was, well, now he's looking at $30,000. Did come in,
Yes,
okay,
Well, in 24, it would have been the 28,000, so 25 actual would have been 30,000. Because we were at 28 for 24. So that other 10,000 was probably the initial spring payment that's not in here.
we're at 30,000 since, at least what I'm looking at here from 2021 to 23, 24. Increased in.
So it's just a partial payment.
Yeah, so it's just part, so it was just a partial payment. I just want to make sure that money was received.
Yeah.
And,
it was accounted for
okay,
in that transition audit. One thing I would like to point out is when we talk about our fiscal year, the balance sheet shows a net income of 32. That's only going back to January 1. I couldn't get that. Which in the computer, we're still working in a Dinosaur QuickBooks, and looking to update that. So the 93 was for the full year.
Anything else, commissioners?
no, I'm good.
Good information.
Anything else, guys? Thank you. for being here. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you guys for
You got your
being a
stuff
part
all
of the
filled
fair.
up with rental units already?
Yep. Couple spots left, but they're spoken for after you're hunting, so.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the updates. This trap, Lake Improvement District. Good morning. Morning. Good morning. You could have you both state your name for the record.
Yeah, most of you know me, some don't. I'm Thomas Anderson. I'm the chair for the Fish Trap Lid.
I'm Chris Zeman. I'm the treasurer for the Fish Trap World.
Good morning.
We're
So we'll just have you dive right in.
If I may, off the record, before we actually start, Mr. White, I want to extend my thanks to Joe Hayden. He has been so helpful to me over the last 10 years with mailing labels, and my responsibility is to set this worksheet for the tax assessment for us. And anytime there might be an issue or a question or whatever, he is always responsive. So you can please.
My best. Thanks, Chris. I'll pass it on.
Thank you for that.
Yes. I want to thank you guys too for showing up at our meetings. That was great. Mike, Matt, Amy was there. I think Sean, the sheriff, you know, that's so informative for the people of Fish Trap and Scandia Valley to hear that all the gears are working like they should, you know, that's a great thing. So to start off this year, we had our testing done on the lake a little bit earlier while the water's cold. Sometimes they can find the beds a little easier that way. Well, crazy enough, some of those beds aren't active yet. Last year's, you know, we had 80 acres that needed to be treated, and we had some scuffles with the DNR saying, well, we're only going to let you treat half of that. So we're a little bit worried about this year going into it, and they come up with the surveys. And again, it has to do with timing, that they only found 18 acres. In all reality, we knew those old beds were still there, that 40 acres. So I got on the phone and worked with the DNR and was not feeling real well about just treating 18 acres when we had 80 last year. And they were able to give us the go-ahead to hit those 40-acre beds that were still in there. So that worked out good. So it was a win-win for all of us. We were getting a lot of heat from a lot of the residents on the lake. You know, what are you guys doing? Why is the curly leaf so bad this, you know, the year before that? So we got a lot of good results from that. So the native weeds still kind of a problem. Not as bad, I would say, as last year. And then those little crustaceans that we've had forever. I just took out my dock just this weekend. I'm one of the last guys to take my dock out. And little or no zebra mussels on there. So they're cycling, maybe losing a little bit of the minerals that they need for that. I don't know. But we got a great team. We love the lake, so we always try to make sure that we're good at what we're trying to do to keep that lake one of the best lakes around. So I guess the next thing is to maybe talk about budgets, and Chris, I'll let you kind of get into that from there.
Our budget for 26 reflects the anticipated costs based on the current year's actual expenditures and the likelihood of some reasonable cost increases, which we're all very familiar with in many different aspects. However, the single most difficult budget line item to determine is the cost of the curly leaf treatment. It is what our lid was chartered for, and that's the control and management of aquatic invasive species. We are fortunate to have only curly leaf pondweed to contend with, unlike some of the other surrounding lakes. But it still creates significant challenges when it comes to determining the upcoming year's budget cost. Weather conditions, vegetation surveys, treatment costs, and ultimately what amount of curly leaf the DNR does approve for treatment. They all play a part. 2 years ago is a prime example of how mercurial the equation can be. In 23, 41 acres of curly leaf were treated, marking the third consecutive year of similar treatment acreage. However, it was at a deeper depth, thus doubling the cost over the budgeted amount, resulting in an approved assessment increase that year from $100 or from an assessment increase to 100 from 60 the previous year. In 25, this year, 67 acres were identified by the spring vegetation survey, which would have caused a financial shortfall had the DNR approved that total. They did in fact only approve the 39 or 40 that Tom is referring to. Presenting that situation though at the 24 annual meeting resulted in the audience recommending to us, the board, budgeting 70 acres and an assessment increase to $150 for 25, which was approved by you all last fall. This year, the DNR did allow 58 acres to be treated at a cost of $39,904, as you can see on my year-to-date financial statement. At this year's LID annual meeting on June 14th, I reviewed our financial status, explaining that our current account balance on that date was $12,080. Upon receiving the estimated $49,000 in assessment monies, less the additional remaining expenses of $24,340, we would expect ending 25 with a balance of $36,700. If we were to maintain the $150 assessment per property owner, not per property, but property owner, in 26, that would provide an additional $49,350. That added to the starting balance, the result should total approximately $86,000 in revenue. Using an estimated $48,000 of expenses, it should create a starting balance for 27 of $38,000. However, it would likely lower to approximately $33,000 because we will be due for another AUP state mandated audit in 26. First time 5 years ago, it cost $5,000. The proposed maintained $150 property owner assessment for 26 was agreed to by the audience at our annual meeting. You will note on our year-to-date financial statement that the current account balance is $17,440. We have not yet received the second half of this year's assessment monies. It is expected to be approximately $22,000. We do not anticipate any further costs for this year, and therefore our starting 2026 balance should be $39,440. As initially stated, determining a reasonable budget figure for curly leaf treatment is challenging. We will likely schedule another delineation survey, which is much more extensive than the point intercept surveys that we often do. That was also what identified the 67 acres a couple of years ago. It should more accurately identify the curly leaf acreage. That is why the treatment budget value has been carried over from this year. Also, the estimated cost for the AUP audit has been included in the 26 budget to assure that the monies will be available for payment in 27. Should our proposed $150 per property owner assessment for 26 be approved today, our total revenue for next year would be comprised of the starting balance of $39,440 plus $49,350 in the assessment to equal $88,790. Deducting the 2026 budgeted expense amount of $63,450 should leave us with $25,340 as a 2027 estimated starting balance. In the event that the DNR approved curly leaf acreage is significantly less in 26 and should be awarded any grant monies, we will certainly again, reevaluate the 2027 assessment amount. We respectfully seek your acceptance of our 26 proposed assessment value. And I thank you.
Gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman. If I may.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Glenn.
I'd like to make 3 points right off the bat here. I have to.
Can we get a little motion to a second, then we'll have discussion?
That'd be even better. Well, thank you for keeping me in mind.
The motion will
And
be
I'll
for
second
the
that.
performance plan.
Yep.
The budget and the levy.
Correct.
Motion made by Commissioner Winters, second by Commissioner Blaine. Discussion, Commissioner Blaine.
So I, thank you, and thank you for keeping me in line here. I need to make 3 points here. In reference to you guys' presentation this morning. Number one, I need to commend you for your hard work. As much as I love the appreciation for Joe Hayden, and he is an extremely valuable cog in this organization, and thank you for recognizing that. I also need to reciprocate and say to you, Tom and Chris, thank you for the work that you do. And people, you know, there may be a number of people around the lake up there. It's a beautiful resource in our county that may not recognize the efforts that you've put in, and that sometimes we have to call and hound and argue and negotiate with the DNR to find sensibility and action that becomes beneficial. And so I have to say thank you for your efforts for your people on Lake Alexander. My second point, Mr. Chair, is to both of you for recognizing that communication from your people within the lid and around the lake. You know, Chris, you had mentioned this, the members of the lid came to you and said, we're okay with raising this, and we suggest raising that assessment to have those resources there. You guys listen, you follow through, and you work with the wishes of your people. A great, very strong example of tremendous leadership out there. And then the third point, Mr. Chair, I have to make is, you know, we have a number of other lakes within the county that their lids come and present to us. And I respect them all, and I love the work that they do. You guys run this thing very correct, but with a very strict budget, and you don't. There's no fluff. There's not a lot of wiggle room. There is to me tremendous evidence of great, strong fiscal management, and that's why I feel strongly about approving the plan, the budget, and I know that the people on Fish Trap Lake are in good hands with you two, willing to serve them up there. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Any other discussion? Mr. Winter?
Yeah, again, I didn't see it in your reports here, when you say the lid approves it during your annual meeting, like how many people are on the lid? And what was the vote, you know, like is it way out there, you know, 90% or you know?
We get 5, usually 2 to 3 full-time, or 2 to 3 full-time, and then we've got the seasonal. So we try to keep that balance. But during that meeting, we include the public to get a temperature of the room to see where this is going, because we explain what's going on in it. We are volunteers. We don't have to do this. We tell them that. So when we get somebody that maybe gets on our case a little bit, it's like, you can come up and sit right here and take this spot anytime, you know? So but we love the lake, and we want to make sure that we are good stewards of the lake. And I appreciate you guys, because I've heard from some of the others, some of the other people and some of the other lakes, when they start asking us what our, our assessment is, it's like, what? Well, we got lucky. We've got a fish trap, does not have a lot of the problems that some of the other lakes have. With that, I think that we're always very aware of what the people want. Of course, we don't want our intent up all the time just to make sure that we're pleasing certain people. We want to make sure that the whole room is in agreement if we're going to do that. And we maybe had one or two out of that group that didn't raise their hand to raise the rates.
And it's who shows up at the meeting, Randy, that determines the levy.
So,
It's not like some of our districts that take actual ballots. It's
Okay.
just, that one's a unique one.
appreciate
The
that.
other, let's all take a hand count or a voice vote of the people that show up.
Yeah, and with that, and they can see the people, that board of 5 will, most of the time, we're all in agreement.
And I appreciate that because I wasn't aware that you guys don't take a vote on every one that, like other with our chairman.
We do seek the audience input because they are the ones who will be paying
Right.
the assessment amount. And we listen to any comments or questions that they have and discuss that. It may not have been conveyed specifically in our annual meeting minutes, but we always ask if there are any objections. We try and respond to any questions that occur. And once we receive agreement from the audience in general, either through a voice vote or 2 years ago, we did do a hand count of the people present because we were making a $40 increase proposal to the assessment amount. The board itself is responsible for proposing what the assessment amount will be. We present it to the audience. They are notified of the annual meeting. They are encouraged to come. And unless there is reason to specifically do an individual count from every member present, we take it in general and then among the board, make the motion as well as the second and approve it or disapprove it.
And I appreciate that information because the fact that everyone on the lake is notified and they don't show up, well, you know what that tells me? They're trusting in your decisions and what people that show up there. Because that's,
We have 329 property owners that are assessed.
And we
And
get,
on average, we have approximately anywhere from 30 to 50 people, depending on the weather that particular day or what might be going on or whatever.
we tend to get a good room full of people. And, I think with our property owners, which we all work together with them, still being a separate entity and knowing that we have that responsibility. We have somebody like Chuck Salter who got us going with the CD3. And Chuck is an attorney. So one of the first things he did is he sat down with me when I was just this young guy coming in here doing this for the first time, like, okay, you realize you're part of government here. This is the way you have to do things. So Chuck gave me a really good training session. Like, you guys just can't, 3 or 4 of you just meet somewhere and have a meeting without it being public. That's not, so we had some good mentors to start this whole thing out, so.
And the lake is also fortunate to have the Property Owners Association, which is entirely a volunteer dues paying group of 13 individuals that have property on the lake that support us in our efforts, as well as we try and support them also. Chuck Salter happens to be one of them. Scott Snuckle is another. Any of you that have attended our property owners annual meeting as well as the LIT have heard them speak and address the issues. So the five of us on the lid board are very fortunate to have the resources of the Property Owners Association as well behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I was just gonna make a comment, Mr. Chair,
Mr. Casper.
to Chris and Tom. It's clear that you have established a great deal of trust out there. We see how much you care, that you have a love for what you're doing. It's displayed. And I believe these people on the lake, they see that and they know that they can trust you, that you have their best in mind. Thank you for what you're doing. It's sweet. Keep up the good work. You have set a high standard.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to apply for the AIS grant this year, right?
Yeah, we have, John Schulblum, who has been working, hand in hand, doing a lot of our grant work like that, making sure he fills out everything. We got a great team, you know, that's.
That's when I can say their meetings are always respectful. There's no hostility and like some of them that I attend and it's just a pleasure to be at because it runs so smoothly. Yeah, it's respectful. They understand that these individuals have done such a good job. One other question, some of the other lids are using some different type of herbicide to kill their weeds that's considerably less dollar amount. I was wondering if you've heard of that. Because we just had Sullivan Light was here just a couple months ago or a month ago, and they were talking about they have a different chemical that was considerably cheaper.
As long as we know that environmentally, it's not gonna create any problems with the fish. These are things that we can certainly start moving forward with Limna Pro and
I'm almost sure he said it worked better too.
Yeah, he did say it worked better.
They might be,
But it might be, maybe it's the other weed too.
On curly leaf, do you know
That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's the other weed.
if it's
Maybe.
Eurasian milfoil?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I thought it was curly leaf.
But just something.
yeah, well, we're always looking to look outside the box if it's, as long as it's environmental. I'll tell you one thing, I'm certified in naturopathy, so I'm not for not creating more poisons.
No.
Yeah, because we're finding out that our environment has more poisons than
Yeah.
we really need, so
Yeah.
just the thought of dumping this stuff in the lake, you know, people ask me, well, what's that gonna do? Well, because they know that I care about that part of it too. Those are things that we should research and find out. If it's a DuPont thing that makes it, I might think twice.
Just a question that I had. And again, I appreciate you, Chris and Tom, for being here today and for everything you do.
Yeah, well, thank you guys.
Yeah, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, this is gonna be a roll call. Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
Commissioner Winter.
Aye.
Commissioner Moran.
Aye.
Myself, Commissioner Lanier is aye. Commissioner Blaine.
aye.
Motion carried. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you
Great
guys.
report. We appreciate it.
Have a nice Thanksgiving.
It's a pleasure. Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys do.
God bless you both.
Mississippi Headwaters. It's all. It's like seconds, isn't it? Oh, look at goodness me. There we go.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks. That's right. Good morning. If we could have you state your name for the record?
You bet. I'm Tim Terrell from the Executive Director of the Mississippi Headwaters Board. I just kind of wanted to give you an update of the Mississippi Headwaters Board. This is kind of a mini update of our biennial conference that we held on October 31st. We had about 65 people attend, state and federal representatives. Matt attended, a great session there. So who is the Mississippi Headwaters Board? We're actually a regulatory but we have voluntary programs. Counties see us as more regulatory. And we do have those non-regulatory grants, but the average citizen, they probably think we're a nonprofit just by hearing our name. Our regulatory powers are that we protect the first 400 miles of the Mississippi River. And we do that with a comprehensive plan. And those are 8 county commissioners that from 8 different counties that sit on our board that help make decisions and help guide the process and our planning. Commissioner Casper sits on our board as our representative from Morrison County. Just getting into this is kind of a table of contents that I'll move real quickly on. I didn't pick everything that we did, but just some of the highlights. Minnesota Traditions, that's our AIS or Aquatic Invasive Species social media program. These are some of the top views. I just want to put that in perspective. Normally on Minnesota Traditions, we're getting about, if we get a lot of views, it's like 5,000 to 10,000. Look at those views, 24, 42. Those are crazy numbers. And I'll tell you how we got those in a little bit. But here's something I thought you and Commissioner Casper might enjoy.
I see people just wanting to go down, bring a picnic basket. And just, there's something about water, they're serious about it, and the Mississippi's no different. To be able to just sit and with friends and family and just have a bite to eat and look over the river and just stare and let your imagination go a little bit.
So that was just something that we had Commissioner Kathy. I bet you didn't know he was a celebrity. Yeah, he might. I think autographs are in place here, but
That was artificial intelligence.
and, yeah, and one of the things is that I think he really in that thing embodied Morrison County there. I think he kind of really summed it up. A nice place to do. You can just kind of visit. Some things that we're good at and Minnesota Traditions, obviously about AIS, but we have consistent, steady in a good cadence, and that's what you have to do in, I'll call it the entertainment or in the TV world. You have to have that presence there. We get a high reach, and our metrics, our engagement. 10 years ago, I would have said it's all about the followers. Today, it is about the followers, but it's also about engagement because engagement is the strongest indicator of behavioral change. That means they had to click on something. Everybody's watching Netflix, scrolling on their phone, doing something, whatever. But if they'll stop and they'll hit like or something, that means that you have a quality follower, not just that. So that's really who we're targeting. Another program is our Mississippi Headwaters Habitat Corridor program. Of course, that's a voluntary program. And this is just the Platte River in Morrison County. And there's already land there. We have no acquisitions in Morrison County, obviously, because there's a heavy economic industry called farming that exists here. But definitely the easements are something that farmers do. And a lot of times they're taking out areas right on, this is the Platte River, some areas, but we have some on the Swan and on the Little Elk. But, you know, typically it's been a pretty good program. It's a voluntary program. There's other places where it's a lot more prominent, but that's definitely where that goes. And then I had a new chance to actually pass a federal bill, HR 197. And right now, what happened is it only, we started on it. We worked with Stauber's office. This is Itasca County Commissioner Corey Smith testifying before a subcommittee in Washington, D.C. And we got a bill passed. And then, of course, Stauber had to present it to the House of Representatives, which is normal process. And what's kind of interesting, we actually got AOC to comment on it favorably. Like, I don't know what a New York senator has to do with a land exchange, but we'll take it. And now it's going to the Senate, and Senator Klobuchar presented at our biennial conference via video and just said that it's her duty to get a Senate companion bill passed. But it's not even going to be a companion bill. They're just going to take HR 197, take it verbatim, and straight pipe it right to the president. So we did this all in 3 years, which the federal government normally works on geological time, not on a regular time. So, you know, the fact that you can get it done that fast is pretty good. And also it helps your sanity know that they work on a slow period rather than trying to push things through at like a local county level or get things done quicker. And then I'll just talk about our resourcetainment program. You know, people really want to experience our natural resources. They don't want to just see it anymore. And so we took natural resources, tourism, and economic development, and we're looking for that sweet spot. And we do that by many things. we had some infrastructure, we had signage here. And instead of going to a PowerPoint, I'll just kind of hit this video right here. Check out these signs that the Mississippi Headwaters Board put up. You got some pictures of the river along with some cultural history. Here's some trip planning and safety information, like where your life jacket, and it even has some medical information of the phone number of the hospital. Hope you don't have to use that. But pay attention to this side. It helps you plan your trip. It's got you are here where you're at, and then it also follows you down. It tells you where you need to exit, where you need to park your car. Plus, it also tells you the approximate miles and the paddle time that it will take you to do that. Plus, over here, you've got a QR code, and if you scan that with your phone, it'll follow you down the river, just like Google Maps, and you don't need Wi-Fi. Get ready to take off, and I'll see you down the river. So that's just some of the things. We have that at Maple Island Park, the Blanchard Dam, and then, Belle Prairie Park down to Le Bourget Park, and we're gonna have one new from Fort Ripley Landing down to Belle Prairie where you end up. So it's helping Morrison County, Crow Wing County, kind of with that. And I can actually follow and track how many people downloaded those things, so I can actually tell you use in a very conservative way. If you scanned it or you downloaded that map down there on your phone, it will tell me use, so you can kind of know, oh, how many people are really using that? And, we don't know who, we just know when and how many. And then we held some events. It started out as education, but it came more of a, just familiarity with the Mississippi River. But this is one that we held in Aiken County called Paddle Your Glass Off. And here's just a little thing. Hey, check out Aiken, paddle your glass off. So that's just kind of some of the things we do. It's kind of fun. We have over 100 people show up to that. We had one in Paddle and Pint in Itasca County. And we had one in Crow Wing where we did more of a history type tour. And, we're getting a lot of people to show up and, people are thinking about, oh, I live here, but I'm thinking about moving here, and so it kind of, from that perspective, is kind of nice. Now, on the economics, if you take because this was kind of the part that we really wanted to see. Now that we can track usage and do that, let's put an economic number to it. So in 2024, if you count the signage scans plus the events, how many people attend events, and you multiply that times $50, and you'll spend that just in gas. So that's pretty conservative. 61,000 basic dollars was generated on the Mississippi. In 2025, it was 30. So you're looking at $92,000 on Mississippi River. And then how do you compare that to 2 years ago? That's it. So it's increasing. Those events have increased and stuff. And so those are kind of the economic portions of it. And then lastly, we started a pilot project called Social Media Collaboration. And what's going on there is we worked with the city of Grand Rapids. And if I could call your attention, the middle part, like July and August, the July area is when we're running like 4 or 5 campaigns. And the reach is around 10,000. You can kind of see that graph. But if you look in September, end of September, we're only running 2 campaigns, but we partnered with Visit Grand Rapids, and it's called collaboration. So we have 55,000 followers. They have 20. We're gaining their followers. So look how crazy that reach went with 2 programs. So what this shows is that it's not just about your followers, it's about collaborating and getting their partners as well. So they saw our videos, we saw theirs, and it's not just, here's a video, can you play it on your thing? It's a special tool that you can do, and that's what it's working. And of course, our influencer program worked pretty good. We talked about a hotel here. I'm not gonna play it here, but that's kind of how the reel kind of came out. And you can see the gray line there is kind of how an average post performs. And the blue line is how that post performed.
That's a modern bullet. Very clean, gray.
Hey, you gotta stay here. So anyway, that's just kind of, we're promoting the economics, so, but you have to be there in person, you just can't be making a movie. You gotta be, because people connect with people, they don't connect with things. And then lastly, we got an algorithm change. Facebook sent me this thing, hey, good job on your quality content, so we're gonna increase your distribution. You can do everything you want, you can try collaboration, you can do that. But if you get a lot of people responding, Facebook jumps in and says, we're gonna give you a better algorithm so you can meet it. Nobody knows where that line is, nobody, but they know that's just how the game is played. And so that was kind of really neat. Of course, why do our videos perform so well? We're using best management practices. Every industry has what's called best management practices. You know, the first thing I remember, I wasn't much of a wrestler, but I was in wrestling, and the first thing they teach you is single leg and double leg takedown. That's the very basic moves. And so I'm talking to my coach in college, and he went to the Olympics, and he only placed like 8th in the world. So anyway, he was really good. And he goes, you know how gold medals? He goes, I know 100 different moves, but you know how you win gold medals? Single leg and double leg takedown. They're high percentage moves. They work all the time. And that's what we're doing here. Influencer videos they work all the time. They're high percentage. So how can we help? Well, we can work with cities and counties to promote this influencer style content. We have the distribution market with Minnesota Traditions. We want to kind of work more like a co-op. You know, back in the 30s, the farmers had to compete with the larger farmer, the larger acres. And so what do? They formed like a co-op, and they put their grain together and sold it as one thing because business likes a lot of quantity in a short amount of time. And that's what they did. But you don't have to make a decision now, but we can start it because we have something that can actually help. You know, a lot of your, what do you call it? Visit Little Falls or those type of Grand Rapids, you know, they got 7,000 followers. We got 45, 55. Do you see a partnership where we could do this? A natural resources partnership? I see opportunity. Grand Rapids has 23. We're doing better. This isn't my full-time job. This is just something I do. And we're doing better than the people that have, and it was because we partnered with the AIS when it was back in 2016, when it was new. People went to the land agents, are like, who are these inspectors? What are these guys? They went on the internet to find out what's going on, and they ran into Minnesota Traditions because we were the first ones there to kind of give that message out. And we were gaining 300 followers a week, which was like crazy. And we weren't putting a lot of money into this. And so that's how we got it. And so that's where we're at. And do you have any questions for me, or how can we work together?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
guys are doing a lot of good work, getting a lot of very tangible, trackable results. So that's very impressive.
Social media is definitely, that's why, I mean, newspaper is great too, but it's kind of, you can't track it like you can on social media. That's why people like that. Everything's becoming trackable now, which is good. But there's definitely privacy where you don't find out who did it. You just numbers. That's numbers, which is people like. And so I think, we can work together promoting some things together. And collaboration is really the key on how all that works.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, it's pretty clear that, COVID knocked the wind out of our sails for a while. But it also was a huge startup for this because it's gained ground and just exponentially grown. Because that people want to get out and see the natural resources. They want to see nature, what's out there. I mean, it's just, there's a relaxing thing about it. There's something there again. It is a sort of a mystery, and it brings peace to one's heart. And this has really been used to do that. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Terry.
And I would add to that is there's lots of things up north here to do. The problem is they don't know that Morrison County has those opportunities. That's the problem. Everybody's good at creating infrastructure. When it comes to marketing, they're not really good. everybody knows Wisconsin Dells is a great place to visit. How many have actually gone there? But if you had an influencer there at, let's say, the Great Wolf Lodge, well, oh, I'm looking up Great Wolf Lodge, I'm booking it right now. Versus, oh, there's a lot of things to do. A lot of people promote, there's a lot of things to do in Little Falls, or there's a lot of things to do in this city. But they don't say, I'm at this hotel and this, look, check this out, you know. That's the one step. That makes the connection. You know, and that's what we can, you know, we can promote Little Falls in a way. What theme do we want to go out? Or do we want to say this is the latest and greatest? Or do we want to say this is a nice, simple community where we all enjoy each other? And, you know, what's that theme that you want to give? You got to think about how do you want to promote your county, not just we have all this infrastructure. Because a lot of people say we got everything or we got lots of this. Well, so does the next county or so does the next city. They got a lot of this. You've got to find out what's unique about you and how you want to promote yourself. So those are some things we can, you know, kind of think about in the future. So.
Anything else, commissioners? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thanks for Tim. Thanks for the update on everything.
Tim.
You bet. Thank you. I'll bring it back to you.
Have a safe trip back.
All right, thank you.
See you Friday, Kenny.
Extension report. Morning.
Good morning. Seems like it's been a while since I've been here, but it wasn't that long ago that our fun breakfast with the commissioners. Thank you again for participating in that. Our board report today has fall activities. 4-H looks at a lot of state events during our fall time of year. And so we've worked through our state fair, both livestock and general project area encampments. State horse, which was a little bit different this year because the Coliseum on the fairgrounds was under construction. They're working on the road. And so they moved the state horse show to Southern Minnesota, Cannon Falls, and then also 2 weekends, the second weekend in Sauk Center. So that was interesting for our horse kids to participate in. We also had State Shoot and the Northeast Livestock Show that we wrapped up. And so October is the beginning of the 4-H year, and we're looking ahead at what's going to be happening next. A couple of things that I wanted to highlight. The 4-H program as a whole is looking at a brand new initiative. It's called the Beyond Ready Initiative. And what that entails is we're looking to prepare youth to be ready to learn, to develop true interest, ready to lead, becoming innovative change makers, and ready to serve, improving their communities and environments. And part of that initiative in our region of the state, we've started a Beyond Ready to Serve program. Morrison County has 3 youth involved. And you may remember a few years ago, we had a program called the Change Makers. And what this is kind of a revamp of that particular program. And so youth are given a chance to really develop a service learning project where they learn about their community, what their community needs, and then they're given funds to go ahead and make their desires happen. And so they're currently in the planning stages, and I haven't gotten too many details yet, but Morrison County will be hosting their December meeting right here. And so I look forward to hearing what they're coming up with. We've also been doing a lot of training for adult volunteers and our youth officers. We had over 25 youth and adults here for that. And then I wanted to mention shooting sports and wildlife. We were up, we had a couple more kids at the state shoot, and we did have 2 new trainers. So there's 1 more in air and 1 more in shotgun. So hopefully we'll be expanding that training as well coming up. In wintertime means Clover Bud Adventures are starting up in January. Our topics this year include reindeer, geology, dairy, llama alpaca, and performing arts music. And so looking at starting those Clover Buds outright with some fun learning opportunities. I did want to mention we'll be doing the impact report at our CEC meeting coming up. And some of those numbers there you may be interested in. Looking at retention rates, and Morrison County is currently at an 86.59 retention rate for all youth across all age categories. You look at youth that have been in the program for at least 4 years. And then we bump up to about a 98% retention rate. And so we're working real hard to get them involved and keep them involved in the program. One other thing we did, and I did want to bring up again, because this was part of our new members, our program agreement youth. And so we took 6 youth leaders and went into the Lindbergh School and reached 4 different 3rd and 4th grade classes. And that's a big part of our little boost in enrollment numbers, because they're counted. They have to enroll the youth to be counted in the programming. And so that was a great opportunity, looking at those youth leaders to potentially do that again. And we also submitted a request to share that opportunity at the Blue programming, which is for youth 6th grade and up. So hopefully our proposal is accepted, and we'll be taking those youth to Blue to share with other youth from around the region what we have going on here.
Great. I like that program that you're starting for, what's it called?
Beyond Ready.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, it's a national 4-H initiative, and our program leader, Jennifer Scusa, is on the committee nationally to get that moving. And it's really exciting because it kind of looks at 4-H or promotes it in a different way, but a lot of the things we've been doing for a really long time, getting kids ready to be productive citizens, is something that 4-H has been doing, like skills training forever. And so it's exciting to see a little bump and a push and kind of getting it out at a new angle.
Something that's all it takes, a little bump. So their own 4-H'er one had the same thing, Commissioner Winter?
Always again, I appreciate that. Sometimes people think 4-H kind of goes away in winter time. Well, it doesn't.
I don't really have a slow time.
If you look at your calendar, it's just, it's amazing the things are. It was one person brought this to my attention, these meetings that you have, and I couldn't answer them. I says, okay, let's say you have photography skills program. Where is that held? Is that like, or how does one get a hold of the extension, call you here and say, yeah, I'd be interested in sending my child or myself or whatever? How does that come about?
So part of the development of programs is stuff I see a need for. Maybe it's something that we haven't offered in a while. I haven't taught a photography skills class in about 3 years. So it's time again. Some of it is ideas from families, especially in the fall when I have a lot of those meetings and I'm gathering a lot of people. I'm constantly asking, and here's the sign up, put a post-it note up there. What do you got for ideas that you want to do? And so it's kind of a collaboration of all sorts of input that comes together. And if I'm looking for someone to maybe teach a program, or if I feel like I can teach it myself, we kind of move forward. You mentioned the photography skills program. We have 6 people that are attending, 3 adults and 3 youth. And I'm a photography buff. I kind of always have been. And so just kind of teaching about the simple elements of photography and how you compose a good photograph for the fair is what we've been working on. I will admit, I tried to squeeze a 6-week program into 3 weeks, and I see the error of my ways. Next year will be a 6-week program again. There's just too much information. But they're doing good and they're trying hard. And so I give them an assignment for the week for them to go out and try and create a photograph that has one of those skills in it. So for instance, when you talk about framing a picture, it's not about sticking it inside a wooden frame, but it's finding elements within the picture to make it look like you have the frame in the picture. So for instance, standing and looking at a doorway. And if I have a doorway and someone in the doorway, if I catch the doorway, that has framed my subject. And so looking at different elements like that and getting the kids to try it out and see what they
And where do they meet? Where do you meet, upstairs at the library?
A lot of times we're in the extension office conference room. I will admit it's super handy to have everything there. If I'm short on copies, I just run to the copy machine and make a couple. But there are instances where we have 2 larger groups, and so we do utilize the meeting rooms down here as well.
But it's always here at the courthouse somewhere.
Most of the time, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Nice seeing you again.
Yes, have a wonderful day.
You too.
Keep up the good work.
Next up, we have Health and Human Services report.
Morning, Nathan. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. 2 weeks ago, roughly, Nicole, Jason and I were here to talk about changing our juvenile detention services from, Prairie Lakes Youth Programs to East Regional Juvenile Center, which is in Anoka, Minnesota. That was a planning session and the movement, I guess, at that time was, this was probably a good decision. Just to recap, kind of, where those next steps would take us would be, if you choose to accept this resolution, that would start the ball rolling with the official contract coming then from Anoka via DocuSign, and we get that routed. That would also prompt me to send notice to Prairie Lakes Youth Program with our notice ending that contract, and then moving forward with East Regional Juvenile Center. The overall cost savings for next year was roughly $14,000. In all actuality, it's probably a little more than that because we haven't seen Prairie Lakes 26 rates yet. So a couple things to note, again, just for the record, this is a joint powers, and so there would be a board member appointed or nominated, or however you do that, for their board, as well as an alternate. The biggest part in the joint powers to probably note from County Attorney Mittendorf is that if we do choose to get out of it, that is a much lengthier process, which could take us a year plus to step out of that joint powers. At the meeting 2 weeks ago, there was a couple follow-up questions that I was asked to check in on. One was a capital call. And so I did inquire on that, and in the history of the juvenile center, there has not been a capital call. There was one instance where they needed to do some significant improvements to kind of their security measures of the facility. The board, the Joint Powers Board at that time voted to take that from fund reserves, and just to reflect back on that again, their current fund balance is at $1.6 million. So there is some reserves there. The other thing that I was asked to follow up on was just kind of their rate increase. And so he sent me kind of a list of those rates, and the average. And so over the 10 years, he averaged has increased about 5.39% per year in the last 10 years. I will note that some of those early years, there was 1 year it went up 2.5, there was 1 year it went negative 2.5, so it went back down. And then there was some years where it went up more just based off inflation and all the other normal stuff. But I think with that, I will turn it over to you for questions. The resolution was in the board packet, as well as a draft sample of the contract that really wasn't much different than what I showed you at the planning session. Minus Morrison County is written on the back for one bed for $146,000 per year.
Commissioners? Any questions? At this time, Commissioner Blaine would be willing to sit on that board. Would you like that part of that motion, or does that not really be part of it?
I defer to you all on how that usually happens as far as appointment to formal boards.
Typically something, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, do you need a motion to approve this?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we direct our head of health needs services to enter into an agreement with East River Juvenile Treatment Center and exit from our existing provider.
Motion made by Commissioner Blaine,
I get six.
second by Commissioner Casper. Discussion. Commissioner Winter?
You brought up $146,000 a year for this contract. Can you explain that a little bit more in detail?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Winter. So the $146,000 is equivalent to one bed per day. So in the world of corrections detention, and this is probably better suited for Nicole, but just my understanding of looking at invoices the last couple of years. Some months we might need that one bed every day. Some months we might need 2 beds every day, and so the cost ebb and flow a little bit. And my understanding of that dollar amount is we can go over it. But we're locked in at that one bed day per month. For services of a reserve bed for Morrison County residents.
Otherwise, beyond that, with our other contract, the cost versus this cost would give me $14,000 savings. But do we actually use it 30 days a week? Again, I'm for this, but I didn't mean for the public out there. Is this beds used 30 days a week or
I think it was 35 days a month you needed a bed, if I remember correctly.
On average, it was 35 days a month. Again, the ebb and flow of things.
Right.
Yeah, some months we might need 20.
I personally, I think people will realize that this is something that's a need for the county. And it's like, what? You spend $140,000 plus for a bed, but that's what the going rate is. And this is not for people or children or whatever that are, just having regular little issues. These have large issues, these people have. It's, again, they gotta be escorted down there, and also the other facility was in Wilmer, correct me?
Correct.
Where this is closer too, so there's a lot of positive, if you look at anything about this new concept.
Thank you, Commissioner Winter. Any further questions? We have a motion and a second. This will be a roll call. Commissioner Winter?
Aye.
Commissioner Moran?
Aye.
Myself, Commissioner Lemire, is aye. Commissioner Blaine? Aye. Commissioner Casper?
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
do you want to take most, go ahead.
If I
Sorry,
may,
Commissioner.
you brought up an alternate for this. How often does this meet? How often do they meet?
So
I'm sure Commissioner Blaine will go to the meeting.
this is from memory, so don't hold me exactly
that's
to
fine.
this. I think they have to meet at least once quarterly, but they, I think, need more than that usually. And so in talking with their overseer administrator, it sounds like it's generally a commissioner and then the corrections director as the alternate.
Okay,
But ultimately that is.
that's fine. Answered my question.
Are you interested in serving on that board?
Mr. Chair, I had expressed, my willingness to do that, and so the rest of the board or the rest of the commissioners understand, why I did that is as we, look at our responsibilities and we all have different boards that we sit on. One of the assignments that I have had since I came on here was being that liaison to corrections. And so I've worked and tried to work with Nicole, the corrections department there, certainly with Nathan and his predecessor in the past on this. So I do have a little bit of knowledge, but I am certainly willing and look forward to.
Cycle insurance committee too, the history of working with.
Yes.
Songs.
Yeah, and so I look forward to the opportunity, if it is the wishes of my colleagues and the ability to learn greater on this issue.
We have motion second to appoint Greg. to
I'll
serve.
make the motion to point.
Motion made by Commissioner Winter.
I'll second.
Second, Commissioner Moran.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
can we amend that to include the corrections director Nicole as the alternate?
To also include the correctional director, Nicole, as the alternate.
Yeah.
Good with that? Yes. All right.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
just a quick question. Simple question. Thanks, Greg, for stepping up. That's sweet. What about where do you meet? I'm just curious for this meeting.
I'm assuming they meet at the Anoka facility, at least some of the meetings, probably with some virtual options, would be my assumption.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Nate.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Right, next is the Mr. LeBlanc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the year 2025 starts to come to a close here, we're midway through fourth quarter. That brings us to a time where reflect on the past year for administration department as it closes out my fourth year in this role for Morrison County. So today I'd like to take just a few minutes to go over our annual report for administration. Here's our block and line diagram. Again, how we were arrayed, show this to every new employee, depicts our relationships with our departments and our role with the community and our residents. Highlighted for this report, as the administrator, I also wear the hat as the department head for administration, which includes our HR, CFO, facilities, and license bureau. So 2024-5, highlights. A big one was a healthcare overhaul for our employees. Did a lot of work on that. The highlight there was a group of employees that came together between 20 and 25, attended most of the insurance committee meetings, and really came up with a creative way to move the organization ahead in the future and make our benefits package competitive, which I think puts the county in a good position for the out years. Union negotiations continue underway. In my time here, this is my second turn on it. Our last contract was for 3 years. This one is looking to be the same. So about every 3 years, all 5 of our unions come due for contract negotiations, and we're in that process, which adds to the third and fourth quarters workload and tempo. But I'm hopeful that we'll be able to settle on these and close out here before the end of the year. Community engagement and outreach, lots of opportunity to touch base with with your constituents and our residents, from the county fair to MOCO Day, which was scheduled this year, but unfortunately because the rain didn't happen. But even that interface with the schools, reaching out to our upcoming workforce. I get the opportunity to take our third graders through the government center here from both Lindbergh, and then starting last year, Lindbergh's been going on for years and years, and Piers here started in the last couple of years. So it's just really neat to see those kids. And anyway, to stay connected with our community. Syndra, we brought in 1 speaker this year to work on our staff wellness and a mental health initiative, and was received with very good appreciation. Most of the staff would like to hear from her again. So we'll look at the 2026 plan and see what might shape up from that. It was significantly reduced from what we did in 24 because some of the feedback was we did too much. So we cut it back, and it was met with a good result. So anyway, great place, great opportunity to stay connected to our residents, both professionally and then also in that personal nature on staying with our community. This here is probably one of the most. I don't know. I'm so interested to see what happens here next year. A telling slide. So I will continue to keep people as a top priority and focus, do what I can to help take care of and recognize our employees and staff as part of this great organization. Staff transition. So I'll kind of take that chart in the left side. So we started tracking this in 22, and on my 4th report, you see to 25. I took 22, 23, and 24 and averaged those numbers. So the blue bar is positions vacated, green positions filled. And so I took those averages and I compared them to the 2025 rates. And if you follow that down diagonally to the bottom right, on average, if you take those 3 years and you get the average there, 2025 showed a 47% reductions in positions vacated. That's huge. Not exactly sure what's happening, and that's what I'm excited to dig a little further into. A 57% reduction in departures. And again, we have more people positions filled, based on our seasonal, than our full-time staff. That's all those numbers are differing. A lot of folks, well, what I've read is that you can factor that about half of a salary is what it costs to transition a position. And if I took that number and I looked at the reduction in turnover, in theory, saved the county $1.6 million in transition costs. And that's felt in both services and actual salaries realized based on where a person may depart at and the replacement comes in at. And then just really a neat little anecdotal bullet there at the bottom is 4 former employees returned to Morrison County this past year. So I encourage our employees. I want everybody to wake up and be excited to go to work. And if it fizzles here for them, I encourage them to find that energy somewhere else, and I'll help them out if I can. But here it's telling that folks did that, and whether it was less than a year, and in one case, I think it was 13 or 14 years, they came back to Morrison County. So they liked where they were, and they just needed some time to try something else out and come back. But all of this, each year, I now back to the top right, I talk about some of our leadership transitions. And those are just some of the positions that transitioned in this past year. We have right about 35 or 36 leadership positions in the county. And from my math, or what I can tell, right at about 17 of them, 17 of them changed out since I've been here. And I'm a little loose on the numbers because, for example, the detective sergeant, they don't technically supervise an employee, but they hold a leadership role. So I've witnessed approximately half of our leadership, to include 5 of the 11 department heads, change out since I've been here. That's significant. I think if you think about any organization, if half of your leaders changed out in 4 years, I think folks would be taking a close eye on how did the organization respond to that. And my comment is, I think that we're doing as good or better than we ever have, or at least since I've been here. That's what I'll attest to, and I'll use the transition numbers as a measurement to that. So we bring in and promote from within and bring in exceptional talent, which I think helps set a right environment and culture for a place that our employees want to be. And if we get all those things in place, then it's just time to do work and provide service to our community. Last part there in retirements, again, actually it's the highest number of years on average that folks are leaving. So again, in that same period of time with that amount of transition, we didn't see a drop in the years served by our retirees saying, this isn't the place that I want to be part of anymore. But again, 26 years on average for our 7 retirees. That's something to be proud of. So that's people. It's probably the one I'm going to spend the most time on, because I think it's the opening, the opening chapter to a really neat story here from Morrison County, at least for the last year. Initial impression, so important. That how do we meet people when they come in the organization? So part of the onboarding process, we send a survey out, so you can see what's the number here? About 100 folks responded. The last 100 that came in, just under 98% either agree or strongly agree that a lot of these initial impressions they appreciated. Our recognition, we started off today with years of service. That is a quarterly event. We're calculating those times differently now. So what started today, you'll now start seeing very scheduled each quarter beginning here in 26. But our annual award of excellence, Jim was just recognized 2 weeks ago. Obviously taking a moment to recognize our employees for exceptional work, and then some of our internal efforts there too, and external. So the walking challenge was internal, just did a little staff competition, and then we had 15 teams sign up and log miles, and then compete against each other. And then the winner actually wasn't the ones who went the furthest. It was a random drawing. So just something to promote well-being and health. And I'll talk a little bit about more of that upcoming. Laura doing great with Hands of Hope. Again, you see our employees out there in the community doing other things, that put Morrison County in a good light. And then, the competition there as part of, Food Shelf Awareness Month, Linda, recognized today for years, but recognized that day for winning the soup cook-off and dethroned our public works director, who was multi-year recipient. So I know Tony will come back strong next year, and represent.
He was hurt.
He was. I think he had dust on that trophy from sitting on a shelf so long. This campus takes work to keep going, and I think it was just a couple months ago received accolades as being one of the best looking county that one of our customers came into and said this place is amazing. But this is John and his team, and what they've done around here, taking care of our facilities is notable. I highlighted a couple of the ADA improvements to the historic courthouse. We've been talking about those. The ramp is pictured bottom right. That is done and operational. And the ADA compliant bathrooms on the first floor are nearing completion. The roof was repaired. We talked about that a couple months back after investigating and finding hail damage this spring. The walking workstation highlighted. We had over 600 employees use this. So this is something that we talked about, and part of the Health and Wellness Committee set up a workstation with a treadmill under it, so that employees that are watching their videos or mandatory trainings or something where you have to be monitor or watching your monitor, and as time passes, but yet look for a way to keep your body moving, which in theory is going to promote health and wellness and then potentially reduce our experience on our insurance and have a healthier workforce. And so that rolled out in April. And since April, we've had over 630 employees sign up for that at 30-minute increments. So, again, if we can promote a culture of health and well-being, I think that's something that helps us beyond the individual, and that's where it starts. Again, the sit-stand stations was another item. Keep our employees moving. I've heard others say sitting's the new smoking. So if we can keep folks a bit active, hopefully that helps us as an organization. And then, just a hinge on a door, but how noticeable, the door opened up their license bureau. I believe the wind caught it, damaged it, and then our maintenance staff to be able to respond to it. And folks are quick to point out when those deficiencies are in place, but our staff is even quicker at rectifying. So that's kind of what our maintenance staff was up to for the last year. I actually had to take some of the stuff off John's list. They were very busy with projects here on the campus and keeping things in working order. License Bureau. So a couple graphs you see here. These are new outputs from the NEMO-Q ticketing system. And when Denise and I met earlier to talk, she was just some indicators here. So in that bottom left application count, there's that dip on the motor vehicle green bar. That's it. When you add in the remainder of 2025, she expects that to come back up and it decrease a bit, but be a lot closer to that 40,000 mark. Real ID was a spike in activity this year for driver's license and a delay by the state of producing those, but they felt that. And then on kiosk count, we have a better picture of kind of that pace and tempo of what's happening. We think there might be a bit of an uptick here with the exam station being open 5 days a week. And there's talk about the state exam station possibly moving from the county. So again, we'll keep an eye on that and what that means for our activities there in the License Bureau. And bottom right, new DNR system. This is the machine that prints out your stickers that go on your ATVs and boats and other recreational vehicles. So that will come with some training and some a bit of adjustment on how they do procedures. But Denise is excited and believes this is going to be an improvement to what the current process is. Some of the other highlights for 2025 are up there in the blue box. Moving along on policy maturity, procedure enhancement, HR manager Beth helped put this together. For 25, we implemented our SOAR results. Again, that health insurance redesign was a heavy lift that she was a linchpin in that process. Expense management is using our Paycom application to process mileage and meal reimbursements for folks in the organization. But it's an example of using a program that we have to its capabilities. And this is just one more example. Onboarding a strategic plan we talked about, upcoming and underway. So our leadership development this past year, we rolled out a new leader training program for Morrison County. I think it was 5. We had 5 members go through it in 2025. It might have been 6, and it's 10 different sessions that take place over a year's time, from HR to unions to presenting to the board, where subject matter experts meet with our new leaders and just spend time with them. What I realized was we weren't doing anything more for our new leaders than we were for our new employees that weren't in a leadership role. And there's a need to add some more tools to the kit bag. So that's been received and with accolades by those graduates and then those going through it. And I have existing leaders telling me, I sure wish I'd have had that. So with that, we're going to roll out in 26 a quarterly opportunity for existing leaders. You know, we'll probably meet in one of our conference rooms and just open it up to existing leaders. We'll share the latest and greatest of what's going on out there in an ever-changing environment. So I'm really excited about that. Talked a bit about our union negotiations. Our personnel policies are constantly we have a draft that's out that we operate under, but we always have a working copy as legislative changes take place and others. So we'll probably be bringing that to board in 26. PFML, or paid family medical leave, mandated by state to execute this program in 26. We'll be noticing by December 1st for our employees, and we're going to do our best here as we again roll out something that's new. But I think we're in a good position for PFML. And lastly, but I know this slide is about done being shown. But just one last time on our ARPA and where it went, and the last item there circled in green is historic courthouse project, and when that's done, we will have committed to funding received here from the federal government here about 4 years ago. A little bit about property casualty and workman's comp. This is another thing that we're trying to identify trends and anticipate hazards and do what we can to mitigate. Slips, trips, and falls, not new. What was interesting, was dog bites. We had 3 dog bites in 24 and 2 in 25. And, I don't think it's something we think about very often, but we have staff that are out on a daily basis at homes of residents. And, I think it's just worth noting that I don't think anybody shows up there expecting to get bit by somebody's dog, but so we put out some information on it and maybe how to address those situations and ideally preventing some. But on property casualty, animal collisions for 24 and 25 were our greatest cause for property casualty claim. And ongoing projects, Kurt continues to work on our asset management budget and purchasing procedures. I reviewed that policy here yesterday, and we'll talk about it again next week with Kurt and Shannon and be bringing that to the board. So, gentlemen, that is my annual report, pending any questions.
Any comments, questions for Mr. LeBlanc? Commissioner Blank?
Mr. Chair, I'll say, going back to that, number one, this is a very, very good department report from administration and all of the things that are taking place here that we don't always sit and talk about. But I'll go back to kind of that slide that you had mentioned, Matt, that you're intrigued with. You're trying to understand the one that references our people, and you recognize the greatest the greatest strength of our organization is the people within our organization. We're a people organization. I want to make sure you understand, that the reason these numbers reflect so much positivity is because of your leadership and the support that you and leadership that you give to a very positive culture within the organization. And when we look at the impact that you make, not to just to new hires coming in, but paying attention to everyone within the organization and constantly looking for ways to offer assistance to people, whether it's their first day on the job, their first day in a supervisory role, or the 10,000 and first day of being a department head or leader here. All of those efforts are reflected in things like reductions in departures. These aren't just good numbers. These are astounding numbers, especially when we look at an organization within government. And I have the pleasure to be able to have significant conversations with county commissioners from other counties throughout the state. They're not able to tout numbers like this. They're always trying to figure out how do we not have to be dealing with negative numbers in these situations. And so I really believe the testament to these numbers, to the attitude of staff, the joy in employees being a part of this organization, that starts at the top. And we have to recognize that. And gentlemen, I think it's necessary that you have to give credit where credit's due, and that's where you're here. And so I appreciate everything you do, and the members of your department there too. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I have to say something. Thank you, Commissioner Blaine, but it starts with the county board. And if we had a county board that wasn't supportive, or in some cases I hear of those being dysfunctional, we wouldn't have what we do as far as a solid foundation for the rest of the staff to operate against. So thank you for providing that to our staff on the daily. And then, the crew of leadership that we have here, again, from my first line to my department heads, they are amazing. And the best thing I do is get out of their way.
You're extremely supportive though, and and as an extremely true leader, you're humble. You give credit to those around you. I'm glad, Mr. Chair, that we have that opportunity today to say thank you and to give credit here to GCAM.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Casper?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I would just say that we're blessed of the Lord to have you, Matt. You do an incredibly good job, and it shows. Employees enjoy working for you and with you. Thank you for all your hard labors. This report was amazing by itself. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else, John?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say one follow-up to that. To my comments. I have to say that this isn't just me in my personal views on this, although I feel that very strongly. But I hear this repeatedly from constituents and from people, residents of the county and people outside of our county who speak very highly of you, Matt, your professionalism, your dedication to your work and how you carry yourself. And so you need to know, this also comes, the public recognizes that. And I just had that comment given to me, ironically, last night at another meeting. So it is recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Blaine. Great report, Matt. Appreciate everything you do and, you make sure you always reach out to those department heads. Let them know we appreciate all their efforts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anything else?
Let's get to
All right, and then it's up to, committee schedules and reports. And first up is Commissioner Moran. Dates?
November 23rd through December 5th.
Okay, Tuesday, November 25th, 8:30 planning session here. Monday, December 1st, I have Morrison County Public Safety here at the boardroom at 5:30 in the evening. Tuesday, the 2nd, the board meeting here, 9 o'clock. Wednesday, the 3rd, there's an informational meeting in Royalton about the Highway 10 coming through at 2 o'clock. Starts at 2, runs, I think, through like 6 o'clock, just the informational and hearing input. Wednesday, the 5th, 8th. Friday, the 8:30 public works.
That it?
That's it for me.
25th. I believe there's a PC bowl I'm making. All about that. Mr. Blaine?
On the 24th, and Commissioner Witcher, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have an extension committee meeting, is that correct?
5:30.
5:30.
It's Christmas Eve. 24th of November.
Oh, remember.
You're very committed.
Yeah,
Yeah, holy cow. What
Sorry.
do you got?
Sorry.
What do you got under the tree, man?
Better be good.
Christmas present.
Gentlemen, on the following day, on the 25th, I will ask to be excused from our planning session. As I have a commitment to another board that has moved me to that day. The following week on the 4th of December, that Thursday night, for the first time in I don't know how many years, the Region 5 annual meeting will not take, it's going to take place on the 4th. And I haven't been able to attend that meeting for how many years because it would always land on the night of truth and taxation, which is the following week. So Thursday, the 4th, Region 5 annual meeting, and I may have to get back to you on the location of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Blaine. Commissioner Casper?
That's not the 5th we're reporting, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, just right up front, I would say, Mr. Chair, that a meeting that I was to have tomorrow on the 20th, the airport commission meeting, that is canceled. Still up in the air with the DNR to meet about Sullivan Lake / Platte Lake, about the dam up there. We're gonna be meeting either November 24th or on December 4th. That will be a Zoom meeting to figure out what's going on with that dam because it's been haywire since the early 2000s and
there's a lot of pressure up there because the waters are so low. That takes me through all the way.
Thank you, Mr. Cathy.
Mr. Wisher.
Only thing that I have on the 28th, Friday, soil and water at 8 o'clock. Or you can do.
Very good. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, just that the government center will be closed on the 27th and 28th in recognition of Thanksgiving, and with the exception of emergency services.
I forgot on the 27th,
Is that the
I'll be texting you all on happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. All right.
And Thanksgiving.
Nobody's perfect, Randy. No. All right, hearing none, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.